G'day, legends. Welcome back to Roadside, presented by Zwift. This is the Tour de France lift out. We are reviewing, repacking stages 7 to 10 from Friday to Monday just gone. And we're also going to hear from Jayco star Ben O'Connor with a rest day recap. The riders have finally arrived at their first rest day after 10 days. They must be absolutely battling. And Tommy and I are going to look ahead, of course, to the second half of this Tour de France. Tom, how are you going, mate?
I'm hurting, mate. I'm hurting. Unlike the other half on this podcast who's decided to call it early last night and get some sleep, I'm doing the hard work, the Lord's work. I'm out there up late every night just getting the notes dialed because we do so much prep. Well, I do so much prep for this podcast here. I'm hurting, mate. I need this rest day as much as the riders.
Yes, the rest day is as much for the fans, isn't it, as much as it is for the riders. But, I heard actually today some rumours about their apparent rest day or their start to the rest day. The riders, after stage 10 on Monday, they didn't just go straight to the hotel and go to sleep, put their feet up. No. They had to transfer to the next place, of course, with a starting stage 11. And many of the riders had an 8-hour bus ride to get to their hotels, to get to the next part of the stage. So they couldn't even get to bed until around about 11:30 p.m.
No,
there was some teams.
Some riders are putting a bit of mayo on that.
Hey, seriously, Intermarché rolled in at the hotel at 11:15 p.m. So you tell me, mate, what time does the stage finish? It's around about 3 o'clock. What time do they get to the hotel? 11:15 p.m. They were getting off the bus. Now, a very interesting thing here, Tom, is that the UCI regulations for the organisers that they need to follow to have a World Tour race or Women's World Tour race state that the riders must not arrive at their accommodation for the following stage or day of the race by after 11:59 p.m. or they'd face sanctions. So they were cutting it pretty fine on this occasion.
Mate, since when have ASO ever cared about what UCI want? And maybe that Intermarché driver is just needed to pull over, mate. A few lung lollies. Maybe that's what sort of broke up the drive when they arrived a little bit later to their accommodation.
Maybe they're using Google Maps instead of Apple Maps. But Tour de France coverage from us, Tommy and I, is brought to you, of course, by Quadlock. Also, Zwift and FE Sports. It's right here, mate. Quadlock, we're doing a little partnership with them for this Tour de France. If you want any of their products, use Roadside10, which is a code to get you 10% off. And also, it shows that Roadside can see you guys are purchasing through our code, supports us. And on our Instagram at Roadside Cycling Podcast, you can comment on one of our latest reels and just comment on the Quadlock promotion post, and you can win a $200 Quadlock voucher. So make sure you subscribe as well on your podcast players and your YouTube platforms to Roadside. And we very much thank your support. Our live streams as well. We've had 3 so far. They've been a great success. We did one last night for the first hour of the breakaway stage. Put it in your diary. Okay, Tommy. Stage 12, Thursday of this week. So in a couple of days' time, we've got the very first mountaintop finish of this year's Tour de France going up the mighty Hautacam. So we will be live, won't we, Tommy, for the final climb up to the top of the Hautacam.
Well, I certainly will be. I'm unsure if you'll be there, mate. You might just roll in early and wrap things up with your track record. But no, mate, bring it on. Been good fun. I think I've got a meeting down at the Gravity Dub down the road beforehand. So we could be on for good form that night.
Well, we absolutely would be on good form. So make sure you see, if you're following on YouTube, you'll be able to see in the live section, you can notify me when we go live, but it will be at the base of the Hautacam. So look out for that one, Tommy. But we're going to have an interesting start to this podcast, won't we, Tom?
Yes, absolutely, mate. I've emptied our bank account and I've got the biggest contract on the table. Young Ben O'Connor, he sent us through a bit of a rest day recap while he's lying in bed, contemplating what could have been. But no, we will send the West Australian a few shelters, maybe a quadlock case as well when he's back in town for his hard work here, just letting us know what it's been. It's been a hard tour, and let's hear from the West Australian now.
So the first 10 days of the Tour de France done and dusted. Personally for me, obviously it started pretty rough, landed down day one, making the first echelon with 4 kilometers to go. And just, one small error from someone else can cost you, your race. And happily, I'm still in the race, but it blew my GC kind of ambitions a bit because I've just been feeling so rough since then. So it was a rough week. Terrain that was just super nervous and ultra explosive and really fatiguing. Just going from that fight in the peloton and the nervousness to then just kicking out on some really small, short, bursting kind of climb. It's been hard work these first 10 days. We had ambitions with Dylan as well, and the sprints just haven't really worked out yet either. And there's not even that many more chances either for him. There's only realistically one clear bunch sprint to Valence, which is actually in the third week. So one of those ones where we have to always pick ourselves up and keep fighting. Yesterday was so sweet personally, again, for me to be back into the bike race, and fighting with the breakaway and having the chance to win the race. And it leaves you pretty disappointed every time you miss out. Ran third now quite a few times since my last win. And it always stings because you just think, oh, what could you have done better? What could you have changed? So I guess the upside is that finally we actually have a mountain stage and finally feel somewhat normal again, and getting back into the swing of things. I think the crew here has been great. Just talked about having different ambitions and Dylan going for the sprint, but the crew's been really good, the way the boys have been. And they've all gone through harder times as well, Dylan obviously has gone through some pretty rough times, and we've all been professional and we know what it takes to pick yourself up and go and get the job done later down the track, because eventually if you work hard enough and believe in your ability and you actually have the ability, then it'll always come together. Rest day today is very, very welcome. 10 days going to the rest day is a long time. So have the family here, going to see them this morning, going to have a brew and relax at the coffee shop and hang out. And that'll be super nice. Can't wait actually for that later this morning. This rest day is just always such a great time to get out of the peloton. I can't actually explain. Sometimes on the rest day, you just want to ride by yourself. You just want to no other riders, no other people. Don't want to speak to a mate. You just want to ride by yourself and love bike riding again, because bike racing and bike riding is a completely different thing.
Great to hear from Ben O'Connor. We're privileged to be able to hear some of his thoughts from inside the peloton. Sounds like some riders, mate, they're clambering for this rest day. They've been sort of yearning for it, haven't they?
It's after 10 days. I mean, they feel it. They definitely feel that extra couple of days in the bank. And really cool to see how Ben is going. And also interesting that he mentioned his teammates and how good it seems like he's got good morale there at Jayco as well, being back in the Australian fold. I think you underestimate just how hard it would have been for him, or not hard, but maybe just extra challenging for him being a part of the French outfit for so long with AG2R now to Decathlon. So good to hear from him going into the second week.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, just how about you obviously see it on the television, the stress of the first couple of days, but that would just be so mentally draining. So to get to the mountains and, obviously for a climber like Ben and for all the climbers in the peloton, they must just go, thank God, put all that behind us, or take the shorter straw of it.
Well, you could even see just on stage 10, we'll talk about that a bit later on, but just as they entered that first proper little, medium mountain, really smallish mountain, just the bunch stretched out. All the stress goes when that bunch stretches out, some gaps are between riders. So I think those climber types are certainly going to be a bit more relaxed going into the terrain that they know they can excel off, and also just reduces the speed, doesn't it? I mean, that's probably where half the stress goes. But let's roll into the rest of this podcast and break down what's happened in the last few stages of the Tour de France. This is Roadside, presented by Zwift. The FE Sports Roadside recap in yellow. We have Ben Healy, the first Irishman in 40 years to wear the Maillot Jaune, the yellow jersey, with some great strategic movements for him, and also, of course, his stage victory, which we saw in the last week. Pogacar, he has a 1 minute gap on Remco and a 1 minute 17 to Vingegaard. Milan is in the sprint jersey. Remco in that white jersey. Polka dot belongs to Wellens. And Tommy, stage 7, where we start off with, it was the Mer de Bretagne stage. It was a cracking stage. And Pogacar, he won ahead of Vingegaard and Onley. And he proved yet again that when there's an uphill finish, he is the best of the rest of everyone.
Yeah, he certainly is. He certainly did, didn't he? He just showed everybody a clean set of heels. He took his time. Impressive ride by Onley, wasn't it, that day? He got there at the top, and he kind of, such a young, still so raw. He sort of was struggling to take in where he was and where he was sitting on the GC and sort of mixing it with Pog. And, we saw him at TDU a year or so ago, even this year. And yeah, he's a classy bike rider, so that was impressive. Van der Poel in yellow, I thought he was just going to produce something that day, but he just got ridden out of the wheel, shook his head, said, I don't know how these guys, the GC men, just back this up day in, day out. So nice to see he's human.
Yeah, and it also just shows the specialisation of the two different riders. Van der Poel has just the greatest power over one day than any other rider on most terrains. But when you get him on a stage like that, 6 days of hard racing behind him, all of a sudden he's neutered a little bit. But that was really good to see, and I like your point on Onley as well. Stage 8, we had with first sprint stage in a long time. Milan wins his first ever Tour de France stage win, and probably achieving his major goal coming here to the Tour de France. He beat Wout van Aert, who popped up for the sprint, and Caden Grooves, our man. Liedel Trek got the lead out right for this particular stage. They had numbers in the finale, particularly when it did split up a little bit. They got their desserts for this Tour de France. Tommy, is the pressure off now for Liedel? Is that enough for them, getting that one stage win on stage 8?
No, it's not. It's not. They came in wanting more, to be honest. It was actually a really interesting selection, I thought, for Lidl when they came into it. I thought maybe another climber or two, but the fact that Skelmoser got sick before the tour, it probably meant that they, the other way, they leant towards the sprints, towards those guys who can win those sort of stages with Milan. So, it kept probably Leonard Kabner out of the squad, who I thought was a shoo-in, to be honest, after going well at the Tour of Swiss. So really, they've got Skelmoser right up there, or not even right up there. He's sort of in the top 15 in the GC, but he's on that precipice of chasing stages. So for them to get the stage win, just a big release of tension, but also they've got to keep pursuing another stage. I think when you bring it like that, they need to.
Stages? Is par 2 stages for leader?
Now, I think maybe par for them probably was one and green. If they can get in that, they knew their tour is a really big success. They've had a bit of unfortunate circumstance with Thibaut Nice, the young man in his first tour. I think they were hoping he was going to be able to mix it on those stages, that Van der Poel was going to be there or thereabouts sort of thing. Yep. And he hasn't. He's had a crash, I think. Why? Where do you view them with Lidl? Do you think they're having
Tour de France stage win?
Exceeded their expectations?
Yeah, I think you get one Tour de France stage win. That's a par, particularly when there are so few sprints in this particular edition of the Tour de France. You could argue there's only 4. That's what I think. There's only 4 stages. up for grabs. They nabbed one of them. I think 1+ green is a nice take. So let's see how they go with that. And Nice did crash earlier in the year as well. Earlier in the race, and his first Tour de France, being a young gun. So one to look out for in the future. The next stage was stage 9. Merlier got his second stage and third total of this year's Tour de France with his trademark early launch. He went like an absolute rocket and outsprinted Milan head-to-head yet again. And I tell you who looked absolutely pedestrian was Dylan Groenewegen. I mean, he was in pole position to open up his sprint. Okay, maybe a little bit early, 260 out. But when he stepped on the gas, he had no pop. He had no zizzle. He almost went backwards when he got out of the seat. So that was kind of embarrassing for Groenewegen because he was made to look like a D-grade flog when Merlier and Milan went past him.
A D-grade flog. That is... I don't know about that one.
He's in pole position, mate.
That is... I think that just shows you the class of Merlier, though, and even Milan as well. Merlier's here. He has one helper, Bert. And that is it. He's got one bloke. The rest are with Remco, so to speak, and they've lost Catania as well. So the pressure's on there to really help Remco. And Merlier, to his credit, he spoke about this. He hinted on it in his post-race presser. He turned around and he said, I had to make sure that there was moments in the crosswinds that I had to sort of keep an eye and go, where's Remco? There he is. I'm good. I'm fine. So there's clearly the indication is there, like, if Remco's in trouble, help him. And then it's fascinating because we didn't get to see him fight out for stage 8. Did he have that mechanical in the last sort of 10 kilometers? So to see this, I think you kind of go, right, Merlier is the best sprinter in the peloton. This stage sort of has put him there. But it's just fascinating because he just doesn't have the team to do the chasing, does he? It falls on all the other sprinters' teams, doesn't it?
It does, and he probably agreed to that in helping Remco where possible before he was selected for this year's tour, because I'm sure that just would have been part of the package for him to go. And I'm sure he's got offers to go to other teams if he'd like to. Van der Poel and of course Rickaert in the breakaway was an amazing spectacle, and they had a chance as well, and almost pulled the pants down on the peloton. 400 normalized power, 400 watts was the normalized power for Jonas Rickaert ahead of the peloton for that particular stage a day out. So that is just shows you the power you need. And I must also remind everyone as well, I've got a big gripe with stages 8 and 9.
You do?
Yeah, big gripe with stages 8 and 9. Okay, this is just ridiculous. It happened in the Giro as well. 2 boring sprint stages. I don't care what happens before them or during or who goes in the break. Sprint stages, they're not as good as mountain stages. They have to be in the Tour, obviously, but you can't put them on the weekend. You can't have 2 pancake stages on a Saturday and a Sunday for a Tour de France. Now, I understand that the geographical nature of a race and going from A to B via bicycle, and you can't just spawn mountains, out of thin air. You have to actually transfer to them. I get that, but you can't tell me that it was an impossible notion to have a bit more of an exciting, lumpy stage on the Saturday or Sunday, even just one. I mean, come on. They made the bloody riders drive 8 hours in a bus after Bastille Day. I mean, what's another 2 hours to get a couple of mountains for a weekend when everybody can actually stay up and watch the whole race? That's my thing. So tour organisers, put some good
enjoy
stages
the
on
racing that's on. Enjoy the racing that's on. It was good racing. There was crosswinds. It was stress in a bunch. Stage 9 was very entertaining. We had a former world champion in the break with his teammate. Went all the way to the line. Got caught in the last 80 meters.
It's not good, mate. You can't tell me a pancake flat stage is good on a weekend. 2 of them. 1, I'm okay with, but 2, and they did it in the Giro as well. Told me, get out of here, mate. Stage 10. Let's move on. Bastille Day, the big day. It was the day, of course, that we were looking forward to from the start of the Tour de France. Simon Yates from Visma Lease a Bike. Hasn't that transfer been a success? He wins on Bastille Day from the break as Healy takes yellow. What a cracking stage this one was, Tom.
It was good, wasn't it? It was very good. Oh, wow. The big break that went early. We were sort of on the live stream talking it through, and I thought, oh, wow, I didn't think it was... I thought it was just going to keep going, and it just went, didn't it? We were both surprised. But it was in the end, it was UAE. They turned around and they just went, we don't have the capacity to chase this, do we? So yesterday was staged. As much as it was so entertaining at the front of the bike race, seeing what Visma were doing, just probing, pushing buttons on UAE, that was perplexing by itself. Yeah. But also then to see like UAE at the end of the day, they're kind of up the creek at the moment. If Pog wasn't obviously so good, then he'd be in some strife. And him losing the jersey, it's probably the best thing for him in the end.
Yeah, Pogacar played it perfectly, letting the jersey go to Healy. If he wanted to keep it, obviously he could have. I thought it was interesting, Visma's tactics. Of course, I do love that they are being aggressive. They're having a crack. I love it. They're trying something. But having Campenaerts, Simon Yates attacking at the front of the bike race, who will be two very, very important domestiques in the third week. And then you've got Jorgensen and Benoot and all the rest of them behind attacking from the main peloton group to no avail, by the way. I mean, it really did nothing. Jorgensen's attack did nothing. Pogacar was nose breathing and he's got a cold, reportedly. All that energy spent, they're trying to make Pogacar spend energy. That's why they're using his aggressive notions. But all they've done is they're just making Jorgensen attacking is spending way more energy than Pogacar is sitting in the wheel, nose breathing. And Yates and Campenaerts, okay, they've got a stage victory, success. But I tell you what, we haven't seen that.
What if they isolate Pogacar? What if they do? It's Jorgensen up the road or whatever, and then Pog has an issue, has a mechanical. They ride him out on the wheel. He loses a minute or two. That's the power of a team, mate. That's
the only way Pogacar gets isolated is when he attacks himself and he's got Vingegaard and Remco with him. He doesn't get isolated by anyone from Visma. Doesn't care who they attack. You still have to have the strongest riders. And what I'm saying is Visma attacking at this point in the race with those riders at both ends of the peloton. We know UAE have been depleted. We're going to talk about Sivakov getting sick and Almeida, of course, leaving. We haven't seen Adam Yates yet. Adam Yates is cooling his jets. He is just sitting at the back. He's chilling. He's relaxing. He's saving his energy, not going out chasing for stages and going crazy at the start on the 10th day.
When it split last night over the top, he was out the arse.
Yeah, well, that's good. We don't want Adam Yates to be anywhere near the front at this point of the bike.
Pog was by himself.
Yeah, that's fine because he's going to be fine.
You just said he'd never be isolated.
Okay, I'm saying isolated properly, To isolate him means you're going to put him under danger for winning the race. Pogacar's the strongest in the race. You can't isolate him with anyone else but Vingegaard. And you know what the funny thing was? They did all the attacks on stage 10. They did Jorgensen attack. They set up the big launch. Vingegaard didn't even counter. So what's the point of your whole team attacking if your leader isn't going to do the final nail in the coffin? What is the point?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I was sort of intriguing to see. And, I think, though, and Simon Yates, he spoke about in the presser post-race, he said he was up there for Jonas, should he be needed to get ahead of the race. So that's why him and Victor were in the break. So, that's always going to be their plan. And that's certainly the line he would have been feeding out to his breakaway riders,
would breakaway they be better off staying in the peloton? Like, will this cost them later in week 3? Have this energy they've spent going for personal success versus UAE all in for Pogacar?
We'll find out, won't we?
We will. We've got Wout van Aert sprinting stages on another stage. You've got Yates going for glory and Campenaerts just getting dagged at a breakaway for 170k. Meanwhile, UAE are all around their supreme leader.
No, they're not. They're out the arse.
But they're still riding for Pogacar. Not themselves.
They're still out the arse. And on this day, you saw the big boys come to the forefront. Like Pollitt was big. Narvaez, he was solid as well.
He was good.
He's got to go to, I want to say, our man, the big swing dog.
Yes.
While we were talking about the GC teams, talk about Healy as well. He was influential in that breakaway, driving the pace, kept getting himself over the climbs. He was driving it. Whatever he's being paid, it's not enough at the moment because he's on a breakout year, or at least he's aged into something that is just, going to be a seasoned campaigner or be recognised as one soon enough because the way he rode that was really impressive.
Yeah, he's one of those unheralded riders. And Sweeney, even on Healy's stage win day, Sweeney was the one attacking with Healy meant at the time during break formation, and that we know that took around 90 kilometres. And Healy was that one. Once it got away, he was in that group, the second group who was trying to get across. He was just there, getting in the way, marking all the moves. So he actually did a really good job there as well. And EF played stage 10 to an absolute masterclass. They are the benchmark of how to race a Grand Tour when you don't have sprint aspirations or GC aspirations. That is how it's done. And there are so many teams in here just getting it all wrong on what they should be doing. And the biggest, comparison is Arkea. They've got Kevin Vacquelon just wasting his time in the top 10 of the GC. Had he given up trying to stay close to GC when he's going to get smoked in the mountains in week 3 anyway, he would be in yellow at this point in the race. So EF masterclass of how to put all their eggs in the right basket. And, Jonathan Vaught, as we talked about this in previous episodes, he knows what the value is to his sponsors commercially, and of course the fans of cycling. And they're using Healy and Powless and Sweeney and Valgren to just perfection. So they got 4 in this break. They picked their stages, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get another stage as well.
Yeah. It's hard to argue against that. It was interesting, they made the call in the car, I think on the penultimate climb, and they were just before that, and it was like, right, okay, we think the gap's going to this could happen. Ben, you've just got to ride. So that was really fascinating to see that call be made. Charlie Wigalius, the DS in the car, who just said, right, let's go for yellow. We've got the stage. It was a bit of a free hit is what they've come out and said. How long can they hold it?
Well, I didn't know
he's got to lose it on Thursday.
I didn't know we had a spiritual whisperer on the pod here at Roadside, Tommy, because if the keen listeners remember who called the Healy in yellow at early days, who could be in the yellow jersey, Tommy, on the live stream and also on the Tour de France Lift Out number 2. He could be in yellow if he plays his card's name. If I was a spiritual reader and I go down to the fairs on a weekend, on a Saturday, and I'm selling the crystals, the curtain out the back where you come in for your tarot card readings, my name would be Papa Eclipse, and I would be just giving out your premonitions. You'll be yellow on stage 10, Ben Healy. So he could hold it, Tommy. Well, probably until stage 12, the Horder Camp stage. I have to expect. Probably until Thursday. Yeah. Oh, but how good is that? Only 4 Irishmen have worn the yellow jersey. That is incredible. And I had so many people in the DMs today after our post on the Roadside Cycling Pod Instagram page saying, oh, he's more English than Irish and all this bullshit. I'm like, well, mate, his license is Irish. There's an Irish flag next to him on Pro Cycling Stats. Get over it.
Yes. Very unsurprising to hear the English complaining, aren't they, mate? Considering, you have a look at their cricket team and it's all made up of blow-ins. Sivakov, he looked terrible, didn't he? He just went out the arse as quickly as he could. He's crook. Almeida's gone, obviously. And your information saying Pog is crook as well.
There are some circulating rumours that Pogacar may have a cold. I mean, you expect once one rider gets a cold in a team, it's pretty easy. We know how it works. It can spread through. But let's just hope that, the rest day comes at the right time, and sometimes they just sort of blow right through. Yep,
fair enough. Now, I can't remember who the last French rider was to win on Bastille Day. I was hoping you're going to tell me that, but can you tell me?
I think it's Warren Barguil.
Yes, it is. Yes, you are correct on that, rather. Sorry.
Can
you tell me what Bastille Day is?
Bastille Day is the French version of Australia Day.
Oh, no.
Is it like, what? Well, what is it? I don't know what it is.
It's when the French Revolution kicked off. They overthrew the monarchy way back in the day. There you go. A little bit of history there for our listeners.
There you go.
You got to get your. I wasn't going to wheel that. I wasn't going to wheel that out until you thought you became the oracle.
It's Papa Eclipse to you, and it's 1-800 Papa Eclipse for any readings. Okay, FE Sports Pinarello have just dropped the new gravel bike, the lightest and most aero gravel bike on the market. So they claim Dogma GR is the bike. So Pinarello, I'm sure we'll see some shots of Pidcock racing and riding on that very soon. We've got our
It's not going to be at the tour, is it? It's not going to be Pidcock at the tour, is it?
He's off with a bloody mountain bike World Cup win. Did you see that? He went from P30 at the start and he won the race, the latest mountain bike World Cup. So pretty impressive. And we've got our Quad Like Talking Tour points right after this.
Yeah.
Okay, the Quad Like Talking Tour points. Use Roadside 10 for 10% off to support our podcast. The $200 voucher for Quad Like is up for grabs as well. Head to Roadside Cycling Podcast on Instagram and comment on the reel. Please do it. There's only like 60 or 70 comments. You have a 1 in 60 chance of winning that $200 voucher, and I will not pick internet random. It will be a listener. I know who you all are. The GC battle, Tommy. Let's just do a little stock take as it stands. I don't have the results in front of me. I'm just clicking through them. Now I do. We've gone through it. Healy has a 29-second gap, moves up 10 places to hold the yellow for a couple of days, we think. Pogacar, Remco, Vingegaard, Jorgensen, Vacolon dropped a few places. Only Lipowitz, Roglic, and Johannesson from Uno X is your top 10, and that 10th place is 5 minutes from GC. Now, the question is we're getting this vision at the moment, the way the race is shaping up. Visma seem to have the strongest team with, of course, the out of Almeida and potentially the sickness going through the team. But they don't have the strongest rider. That is Pogacar. So we've got this question of, can the strongest rider, Pogacar, win the Tour de France against the strongest team in Visma?
Yeah, it's a fascinating one, isn't it? And it's one that's sort of exciting. And I think that was sort of, this line's been strengthened after what we saw over the weekend because it looks deadly. Like Sepp Kuss, Jorgensen, just on the front, riding for Jonas. I really want to see Visma try and position Jorgensen in a way that, you know, when Pogacar got knocked out of the Tour de France a couple of years ago, it was Roglic Vingegaard, wasn't it?
Yes.
You got to have a bit of a 1-2 punch because Pog is just sensational. I would just like to see if there's that period in time where they can look to leverage even Remco, if they can. If there's a moment on, over through the Pyrenees, the Alps, where Jonas, he's got Jorgensen going off the front, just going crazy, along with Remco as well. And there's a moment where he just turns around and he goes, right, no, I'm not chasing this. Like, you know, that's my teammate up the road. And I think for Jonas, he doesn't really see second. He sees second as like a result, but he also I think he'd be happy to finish third. I think he sees them as the same part. So from a team perspective, yeah, I think it is, sort of advantage, and the advantage goes to Visma. But are they going to be able to best use them? And that's what your gripe is by the sounds of it, You saw at Simon Yates in the break, and the battle to be able to position themselves to fight, try and isolate Pog so they can work him over. That's going to be intriguing.
Yeah, I actually love your call of utilizing Remco in this GC battle. I think that is fantastic. That is exactly what they need to do in these mountains. Get the three of them together, which we will see at some point. But if Pogacar hasn't gone full nuclear, because he's in defensive mode at the moment, let Remco ride away. Let him get into the jersey. Let him get into the virtual jersey, and that will force eventually Pogacar to chase, particularly if it comes before this TT on stage 15, which I believe is after the Hautecam stage. So this could happen on the Hautecam. I don't mind it. Jorgensen, well, he's not 2021 Roglic when you're referencing the Vingegaard and Roglic 1-2. He's nowhere near it. I think Jorgensen is pedestrian when it comes to GC stuff, but they got to try something, and I think Simon Yates is much more of a dangerous rider. I wish they'd kept Simon Yates in the GC as opposed to Jorgensen, but of course he was probably lucky to be there, to be honest, coming off his Giro win. Let's see how it unfolds. The Hautecam on stage 12. You must join us for our Roadside Live, the final hour. That'll really shake it up on Thursday. The podium battle for third is really interesting. We've got probably a handful of riders that can actually go for third place and potentially their first GC podium, with Remco currently the front runner, Jorgensen, Oscar Onley, potentially Roglic, Lipowitz, and Felix Gauls probably coming into the conversation, Tommy. Who out of those three is your, do you think at this stage of the race?
Remco. Why? You don't think Remco? Why? You want to approach this subject?
I'm changing my tune here for the third place. I'm starting to like the look of our man Roglic. I think Roglic I like his trajectory. He's just, I think his trajectory is going to look a little bit nicer than Remco. And this is my feeling with Remco. His accelerations and his ability to respond to the accelerations, albeit in the punchy stages we've seen already, or even in the crosswinds, etc., he looks like his acceleration is completely gone. I mean, we used to see Remco take on Wout van Aert in sprints in one-day races. No more. He looks way too thin, and I feel like his punchiness has been really subdued for this Tour de France preparation in favour of his climbing ability. I'm starting to like Roglic. I think Roglic is going to sneak up on everyone in that third week. So let's just don't count him out, old Roglic. He could hop on to the podium and surprise us all.
You are in for a rude awakening when he goes. Oh, your phone's going to be blowing up. I'm going to be on. I'm just going to be on speed dial to you. You'll be trying to sleep because you won't be watching the stage, and I'll just have to let you know.
They call me the Oracle.
No, Remco's lined himself up for the long climbs in this year's tour. The Tour de France is going to be decided on the big 20-kilometre climb, 15-kilometre climbs. That's why I was really impressed with even Remco as well as Jonas in this first 10 days. He didn't lose any time on those short, punchy stages. That's why I was really impressed with him. He lost time out of the time trial, which was just an abnormality almost, that he could have kind of gone, I've just had a bad day. Like something hasn't clicked here, and he's expected to maybe a bit of panic set in initially in that TT. And that it was so strange that to me with Jonas then that it's all right, you know. The fact that he didn't lose time on the short days, which has been his Achilles heel, is holding him in good stead. Same goes with Remco. So they're well positioned, in my opinion, to still have a good Tour de France for the GC battle.
Okay. And who do you think's winning the sprint battle at this point in the race after the first rest day? We've got Milan, who has one stage win, plus the green jersey so far. We've got Merlier, who's got 2 stage wins as it stands. We've got really one sprint stage to come, a proper sprint stage. And then Philipsen, I've included him in this because he's got one stage, and also he wore the yellow jersey. Who do you think, if Philipsen was also in this conversation, who would be winning that battle of the sprinters so far?
Oh, these boys, they only care about winning. The green jersey, great prize, don't get me wrong. But honestly, like Merlier, who has won 2 stages, that's what matters to them. Why do you see otherwise?
No, I think that's a great call. Yeah, they are beasts that only care about winning. The jersey, at the end of the day, they just get rolled up and put into the bottom.
Do they not care about the green jersey, you reckon?
Well, I think this is interesting because I don't think anybody cares about the green jersey anymore, and I don't think anyone cared about the green jersey once Sagan left a peloton. He made it interesting because just the way he raced, he could go for many stages, not just going for intermediate points. The people who win the green jersey at the moment, they can go for the intermediate sprints and win a couple of stages, but they're not winning the stages that Sagan used to, and he won it 7 times. I mean, it was just a domination.
Sagan was rarely with Gallop, did he? He was always either, outpaced by someone like Gaviria, Kittel on there, who was having, one sprinter would be having a blinder. So he was always, second, third, snagging points. That's what we've seen in the past.
He would win the uphill finishes. That's what made him so good. They would always stick the uphill finishes in.
And he would also get over climbs that you would go like, how have you gotten yourself over a climb here with the front group? And in a breakaway he would have been in last night's breakaway to pick up the first intermediate.
Absolutely, he would have. So I don't know. I mean, I wonder what everyone thinks who's listening or watching on YouTube. Do you actually care about the green jersey, and why don't you care? Or why do you care? I don't. No, I do. Who's second in the green jersey comp right now?
Well, I couldn't tell you.
No, that's my point. That's my point. Oh, Benny, he needs a hat. Oh, how bad.
It's not. It's Pog.
He needs a roadside hat, which might be coming in the future. Speaking of Pogacar, Tommy, I have a feeling, right? Are we, as cycling fans, are we taking Tadej Pogacar for granted? Are we taking this superstar who's just coming and taking everything in front of us? Are we taking him for granted? What do you think?
Oh, maybe, a touch. I'm guessing you're touching on sort of this bubble that's revolving and starting to grow a little bit around Tadej Pogacar. empty your heart out. Why? What do you think people are resenting Pogacar?
I think, yes, I think there is an element of resentment that is trying to be pushed in by the sort of mainstream cycling media outlets. And I think just in general, some casual fans are taking Tadej Pogacar for granted. And one of three things, really. The first one is we're seeing a lot of the cycling news outlets during the Tour de France push articles that are sort of negative POG, anti-POG. You know, we saw the Jorgensen Visma bottle gate thing where Jorgensen was taking, the bad line, take it through the feed zone and basically stopping Pogacar from getting his bottles. But the article was sort of framed in a way that it made look like that POG was pushing Jorgensen into the feed zone, like just rubbish like that. We've seen, all these articles come out about Pogacar being irritated by Visma's tactics, and he's being provoked and he's getting annoyed. And these are all the headlines. They're trying to make this and create this sort of narrative that, Pogacar and Visma having this big beef, and Pogacar's just this guy who wins everything and he can't handle, all of this pressure and just anyone trying to take him on. I don't like it. Okay, I don't like it. I think we need to remember, before we start resenting Pogacar for him dominating everything, we need to remember we are going past a previous era of GC racing that was just rubbish and boring. The previous era of GC racing was Team Sky. It was 6 riders lined out on a mountain, and they would race the first mountain stage of the Tour de France or the Giro or the Vuelta. They would line up Chris Froome, Wiggins or Bernal, let him attack with 1K to go. They'd take the jersey, and then for the remainder of the mountain stages, they would ride that 6-man formation, and they would not attack. They just defend the jersey till the end. The most back six, park the bus in the football terms method that you could take. And it was so boring. Nobody could attack. Breakaways would win. No panache, no nothing, just robot riding. And Pogacar is the new era. He's coming out of that. He attacks on the first climb of the day when there's 5 climbs to come. He attacks with Van der Poel. In the crosswind stages, he goes for stage 1 points. He's going on the punchy murder Bretagne stages. Like, he does everything. It's exciting. And even though he is dominating everything, we can't take him for granted because he is one of the most exciting riders. And you just have to remember that the real boring age of GC riding was pre-POG. And I think if you compare the two, you'll just remind yourself that, hey, Pogacar is very, very good for cycling.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? And I think mainstream media certainly missed that mark at the moment. I think you do see, obviously, the cycling media industry, that's sort of the taglines they need to pick up, though, and that is maybe their job not to necessarily keep him in check because of his dominance or, it's maybe toe the line, but you got to get clicks somehow on articles, don't you, mate? And obviously that's their avenue. So I think they still do some very good work around, obviously, dealing with Pogacar, and Pogacar himself does a very good job of handling the media. He's very upfront, honest. So I hope that doesn't change while this sort of situation develops throughout the Tour de France. Don't forget, it is the biggest bike race in the world. Pinch points like this, they do get highlighted. They get seen, much like some bloke mooning us on the side of the road. The whole world will pick it up. It doesn't just go amiss. It's not the Tour of UAE or something like that. So
that's right. I mean, I'm just saying to fans, to the fans and the listeners, of course, of Roadside Podcast and any cycling fans in general. Just when you're consuming all this Tour de France media and this racing media, just remember what POG does for us fans, not just at the Tour, but
are you on his payroll? You're in his payroll.
Pogacar? Well, I wish I was. What would I be getting paid if I was just a little PR pusher for him? I'm sure you'd
be paying him.
I'd be checking the time on a Richard Mille, that's for sure. Now, FE Sports News, there's no gossip today. According to Dan Benson, and also confirming the Roadside rumour file, Sam Welsford, as reported by us and Benson a couple of weeks ago.
Reported by us.
We're the Roadside rumour file.
You're claiming a breaker. You think you're a breaker. Are you Mitch Cleary? Are you?
Hey, yeah, I understand. Hey, we said the Roadside rumour about Welsford months ago. This is digging deep. It doesn't matter. He's been confirmed a 2-year deal to Ineos Total Energies for starting next season, leaving Red Bull. He's only been to the Tour de France once, Sam Welsford, and he hasn't really despite his success, which he has had success, he hasn't hit his potential that we know. And of course, I'm sure he knows himself he has. So let's hope that Ineos can get him to the Tour de France, can get him to Grand Tours, and we can see the real best of Sam Welsford.
Yeah, I'll still wait till August until this headline gets published. But yeah, from what we've seen and everything around, it does sound like it is a bit of a done deal. And good on him. Big gap in the market there at Ineos for a big sprinter. So, and I think Sam's good enough to go to any World Tour race and have a go.
Absolutely. The other bit of news is the LA Olympics, which is 2028. The road races and the individual time trials for those Olympic events are currently scheduled to be between July 19th and July 23rd. So that means the Tour de France will have a huge clash with the Olympics yet again. So I'm sure that will be hopefully some shifting of dates for the Tour. That's what usually happens for an Olympic year. They
generally push the Tour de France back.
That's what
we've seen previously, where those dates I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, mate, you're going to struggle to. Yeah, if you push the Tour de France further back in July, you're still going to have problems there, aren't you? So.
Well, it pushes back the women's tour as well if they do that. So the Tour de France Femmes get to push back, which is usually starting in August, or late July. So it does have very carryover effects that goes into the Vuelta, then the World Champs, and everything gets pushed back for the Olympics. So it's just bizarre scheduling. They've got 4 weeks of Olympic sort of scheduling to put the events in.
It would be such a big moon for either race to run it pre or post. Imagine the Olympic champion coming to the Tour de France. So or the other way around. So I don't think the Olympics care much if the yellow jersey's headed there, but for the ASO, I think it would. So something to take into consideration.
Absolutely. Now, in some more serious news as well, I'm going to put my serious cap on here. Team Ineos have been allegedly implicated in another doping scandal back from that era, the 2010 to 2012 to sort of 2015 era, where there's a lot of murky stuff in there. Now, Paul Kimmage, who is a man who was responsible for bringing down Lance Armstrong and has been anti-doping his whole career. He's written some he's done a lot of work. We don't need to say too much more on that. But he's dropped an interesting article today on the rest day of the Tour de France, implicating a man called David Rosman, who is a current soigneur for Team Ineos and has worked with Team Sky or Ineos since basically the inception of their team. This man has been implicated with the doctor who is the doping doctor convicted of the Operation Ardelas program, which is a huge, widespread doping program across a number of high-performance athletes across many sports. And the doctor's name was Mark Schmidt. Now, Paul Kimmage has actually got text messages exchanges between Rosman, of course, the Ineos soigneur, and Schmidt, this doping doctor, from back in 2012 at the Tour de France, during the Tour de France, and of course 1 month prior, which was the year that Bradley Wiggins had won ahead of Chris Froome. And the most damning things in this report, which you just have to Google it and find the report on the internet to be the first one that comes up, Paul Kimmage, were the text messages between the two, between Schmidt and Rosman. Now, the first one was on July 9th, which was a month before the 2012 Tour de France, which, of course, was pushed back for the London Olympics. And Rosman had asked Schmidt, the convicted doping doctor, do you still have any of the stuff that Team Milram used during the races? If so, can you bring it for the boys? They met during the Tour de France, the day before Chris Froome won a Mount Top finish on stage 10, I believe. And we don't know what happened during that meeting, but they were in contact. So not a good look for Ineos, particularly this dropping on the rest day. This David Rosman still working for Ineos, and he's had these text messages with a convicted doping doctor. It's not a great look, and I tell you what, it's just the doping stuff. It just will forever be in cycling. There are so many riders, staff, ex-riders, and staff that are still have heavy roles in the World Tour and Women's World Tour cycling world. It's just ingrained, isn't it, from such a dark past?
Yeah, I don't know how to add any more onto that, but it is something that I'd like to see stamp out. Certainly one to put maybe a little bit of a highlighter on and follow this story as it develops.
Yes, watch this space. Now, final words, Tommy, before we wrap up our recap for stages 7 to 10 and everything in between. For me, to start, I'm still actually battling this sickness. It's knocked me around a bit, but one thing that doesn't just ever let off for me, mate, is my training. I never let off. My training beast. And I've got one more climb left on the Tour de France Climbing Portal Challenge on Zwift. Now, you had to do 4 to unlock the DD kit on Zwift. I actually did the first 3, including the Horticam. I dragged my ass up that for about 90 minutes of Zwift Zone 2. And I unlocked the kit after the 3rd. So I don't have to do the Col de Madeleine, which is the last one. That's going to be like 100, probably 100 an hour.
You don't need to do it.
Well, I've already unlocked the kit. You had to do 4.
You got to do it.
I'm going to do it, mate. Don't worry. I'm going to do it. So despite
I'm not worried.
Sick, and Tommy just getting a bit of a sniffle as well, the main story is, everyone, that we push on, we grind. We're not just here for show. I'm not wearing this hat for show. I'm the real deal. I'm training hard. I'm getting it.
Yeah, you're training hard, pushing 200 watts, mate. Chapeau. Now, look, mate, I'm on the topic of Zwift. I'm absolutely stoked because I've got my Zwift E-Ride. It's arrived. It's here. It's in the house. So I am actually super keen over the next couple of nights to put this thing together, get set up, and actually turn the legs over. I might have to do it. Maybe I'll just do all those climbs in one night. Wouldn't that be something?
If you want, mate, we could do a Zwift ride together.
You will have to show me how to do that. I've got absolutely no idea how to set that up, but I've set my Zwift account up the other night, so I just put the pay tag
level 0.
and just handled it.
Yeah, level 0.
I'll show you level 0.
Make sure you follow Tom on Zwift if you are a keen Zwifter. I'm sure everyone is now. We are going to be back. Don't forget, Thursday night is going to be our Roadside Live. So join us for that. We're going to be on for the Horticam stage, the final. So once they hit the base of the Horticam, we will be live on YouTube for the watch along. And our next recap episode, of course, will be later in the week. And just a reminder, I know we said Monday and Friday for our recaps, but we're just trying to make it work with timing, with life, and of course us being sick. So we're just moving some things around, but we're getting you two eps per week, nonetheless, Tommy. So looking forward to our next episode and a Roadside Live, Tom.
Yes, till then, my friend.